Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you guys so much for the positive feedback and support on that last episode where I went through the controls. Thank you also to everybody in the comments who pointed out stuff that I had missed. No, seriously, it was really great to see people in the comment section sharing tips and ways they rebind their keys and stuff like that. So guys, if you haven't seen the comment section on the last video where I explain how to control Minecraft quote unquote like a pro, then please do check out the comments because some people left some really great tips in there. And that's the kind of stuff I would love to see more on these videos, if people want to share the ways that they play Minecraft and the ways that they feel like they can make their survival game a little bit easier, a little bit better, then that is exactly what I want to happen. So please continue sharing those. Today, we're going to start working on a big building project for this area. At long last, we've beaten the dragon. There are still some other survival objectives to take a look at, but in the long term, I think we will probably want to do a lot of building in this series. So I'm going to start off by transforming this area quite significantly, I think. We're going to double down on the fact that I've already got a farm kind of set up here. We've got a big barn, and I've been calling this the farmhouse or the farmstead, I guess. And we're actually going to turn a lot of this place into a more agriculturally themed area. We're going to make a giant wheat field here. We're probably going to build a windmill. I think up there on that hill seems like the perfect place to build a windmill. So I kind of want to do that. And I built many windmills in my time. I have a design that I prefer. You can find that at the one chunk windmill tutorial I have on my channel. So we'll probably be building that exact design. It's a foolproof design as far as I'm concerned. It's probably my favorite windmill I've ever built, so I like to reproduce it where I can. So anyway, yeah, we're going to do all of that in this episode, or the following couple of episodes. We'll probably be developing this area a great deal as well. But before that, I wanted to get to something that we didn't get to do at the end of our exploration of the end, which is try out the Elytra. Now, a lot of the time you will see people, as soon as they get Elytra, putting unbreaking enchantments and mending enchantments on them, because that is very necessary when it comes to Elytra. You can't see it right now because we haven't used it, but the durability on Elytra is actually fairly low. It's roughly equivalent to something like a set of diamond boots that only has about 420 durability. I think it's around 432 or something like that for Elytra, but once you start using them, it is very, very quick that they break, so you will end up finding yourself in need of repairing them quite regularly. And normally Elytra can be repaired with phantom membrane, this stuff, which is a good thing that we have a lot of it, but in the long term you will probably want to be able to mend them with experience, because that will keep them topped up whenever you fight mobs or, smelt something. Your Elytra, if you're wearing them, will regain a bit of durability, and it will be a lot easier to continue to use them. So to start off with, I'm going to craft up a couple of fireworks, and I'm not going to show you guys the takeoff process right away, but I think I will end up using some fireworks to fly around a little bit in this episode. So we're going to take those fireworks. That's how you craft fireworks, by the way. Kind of skipped over that. It's gunpowder and paper, and that makes basic firework rockets. Now, there are lots of other different combinations of fireworks that you can make, and some of them involve making firework stars, which actually produce patterns if you set them off in the sky, whereas these basic rockets will just kind of make a noise and then fizzle out. But the ones that you craft using firework stars will actually damage you if you use them to fly. So the basic ones, paper and gunpowder, is basically all you will need. Now I'm going to hop up to the top of this hill here, or maybe one of the other hills nearby, just to show you guys how Elytra function when you don't have fireworks, because far from being a set of wings that you can actually use to flap and fly around, they function more like a glider, I suppose. Let's go to the top of this tree, actually, and get up here, and I can show you. The sun is setting, so we're going to glide down into the lake over here, and what you want to do is, they open out when you crouch, which is kind of neat, but that doesn't actually do anything for them. What you want to do is jump, and then immediately press the space bar again, and what the second space bar press will do is open out these wings, and you can fly around. I prefer to do this a lot of the time in third-person mode because you can actually see the wings open, so you're guaranteed to know when you're flying. And that is really all they do. that at least is the basic function of Elytra. They function as a glider. They can help you glide down to different places, help you take slow falls and that kind of stuff, so you don't take full damage if you're falling from a great height. There are a lot of other things you can do with Elytra, though, because fireworks were added, I think, in a later version of Minecraft. It was either Minecraft 1.11 or 1.12. I think maybe in one of the minor updates of Minecraft 1.11, we were given the ability to boost Elytra using rockets, because a lot of people were actually using punch bows, which give you a little bit of extra knockback on an arrow, and shooting themselves into the air. Like, you could fly slightly in front of the arrows, and if you kind of didn't pull back and shoot the bow particularly far, you could actually punch yourself into the sky. And that's how a lot of professional Minecrafters were using it to get around. And so Mojang decided that it would be better for people not to take too much damage when they flew, and they implemented fireworks as a booster for Elytra. So what we're going to do is jump off exactly the same tree, but I'm going to have fireworks in my right hand, and when I right-click, like so, you'll see that we can actually gain some speed, and we can fly up to extraordinarily high heights like this. We can see even more of our world, and it is for this reason that Elytra are actually people's favorite way of getting around in Minecraft since they've been implemented. That and the speed, because you can actually... Oh, my game is hiccuping a little bit because it's having to render more than it normally does. You can actually fly a great distance with Elytra. You can do a whole lot of flying if you've got Elytra and firework rockets. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Bear in mind, though, that yes, we have 432 Elytra, and just in those 2 short flights, we've already used about 40 of the durability, or maybe a little bit less, like 30-something durability. 33. It is necessary to keep those Elytra alive, because if they die in midair, you don't float down casually and land. You fall out of the sky if these wings break, and they do not break in the same way that tools do. Normally when a tool breaks, it will just disappear from your inventory completely. Elytra, because they are so rare and so valuable, have a kind of broken state that they enter, where you can still repair them from 0 durability, but they will become tattered and you will be unable to fly with them. So if we were going to use Elytra a great deal, getting mending on these would be of our highest priority. But right now, I don't think we're going to use them all that much. And right now, I would prefer to have a protection chest plate on just in case we get into any fights. So we're going to leave the Elytra in the ender chest for now. And I know a lot of people will think that's a weird thing to do, considering that we have access to flight now. We can go wherever we want. Trust me, we will do plenty of exploring in future episodes. But for now, the Elytra are going back in the box until we have a way of getting ourselves a mending book. And I just realized the reason we were struggling so much is I have my render distance turned up absurdly high. Let's turn that back down to 16. I think I turned it up to make a screenshot or something like that, and I never turned it back down again. Oops. All right, we can carry on now. So the first thing we're going to do in the transformation of this area is to take down these sugarcane farms, which have been really great for us so far, so I'll probably reassemble them somewhere else. But if I want to use more of this area to build up a farm kind of environment, then I will take away all of this sugarcane for now, and we'll probably rebuild the farm somewhere else. I'm going to take down the automatic sugarcane farm as well, because I want to rebuild that bigger and better in another episode. And to be honest, the manual sugarcane farm, just because of the sheer volume of sugarcane we had here, has actually been better than the automatic one, but only because the automatic one only had a few rows of sugarcane, whereas this had probably close to, I don't know, 64 sounds like a reasonable amount. It was a lot closer to that. So we are going to fill in each of these water sources with dirt to get rid of the water, and this should all grow back over as grass. I think we're probably going to keep this area of the wheat field that is against the lake, because that's still hydrated. We'll still need a little bit of wheat, and we'll need a way of farming wheat seeds if we're going to be planting a lot of them, so this seems like the ideal environment to do that. Now I've got a silk touch pickaxe. I can break this glass and get the glass back, which is fantastic. This is probably the main reason I didn't build up more of this sugarcane farm, was that I knew I was going to have to take it down, but I was really hoping I'd be able to get silk touch and preserve all of that glass in the end. So let's remove all of the observers and the redstone dust and everything. We'll pack all of this away, and we will end up using it again when we rebuild the sugarcane farm in a different spot, or maybe somewhere else close to this. Considering we're going to be working around here for the next little while, we might build it within the sort of general area of around here, but we'll decorate it to look a little bit different instead of just leaving it out in the open like this. Man, it looks so weird with that gone as well. It looks like we've traveled back in time somehow. It's really strange. Anyway, we're going to continue to develop this area a little bit. We're also going to smooth out the gradient of this hill a little bit. We're going to do a lot of terraforming, and I'm using that Fortune 3 shovel that I got in the previous episode because I I don't mind using it on grass and dirt and that kind of stuff. It would be nice to have a silk touch shovel so we could get the grass blocks back. But to be honest, I think it's probably going to be best used for something like this where we need to clear a large area out. And as long as we're not using it on gravel, I don't mind. But gravel is one of the things that I end up digging up a lot with a shovel, and if I'm not thinking about it, I will end up with an entire pocket full of flint. So that is preferably to be avoided. Now, we're going to smooth this out so we have maybe a slope of like 1 block at a time, and we end up with a large flat area each time we go 1 block up, so that it's not a steep hill like this, so we're not having to deal with too much of an incline. Because if we want to make this an expansive wheat field, then even if it's tiered like this, which is a fairly natural thing for it to do, it still needs to have a gentle slope. Otherwise, the wheat would all just kind of fall down. It would all slide down to the bottom once it was planted. And while it's nighttime, I'm also going to take the opportunity to light up a little bit more of this area because there are clearly some dark spots around here that I would prefer mobs not to spawn in, and I want to make the lighting look a little bit more natural, but that's something we will cover in another episode. There are lots of neat ways of hiding lighting which are definitely worth covering in future. Now, the natural layer of dirt is only going to be a couple of blocks thick in places, so you'll probably find patches where it turns into stone, and you can choose to either keep those or just swap them out for dirt. It's nice and easy to do that. Look at that. We've got so much dirt right now just from terraforming this place. It's going to be very, very useful later on because we actually want to smooth over little sections like this hill, and I think we might actually make more of a mineshaft style entrance to this cave, maybe have it propped up with beams and fences and that kind of thing in much the same way an abandoned mineshaft is, because ultimately we want to keep this entrance to the cave because that leads to the strip mine that I built and that kind of stuff, but we still want to have this area turned into something more like a wheat farm. So I think maybe what we'll do is we'll have a path leading from the house to the cave entrance, and if we can make that look like a more of a mine entrance kind of thing, we can have the wheat field stop just in front of the path or something like that. But for now, I think we'll still fill this area in a little bit. We can always edit that later if we want to. So now we've done a little bit of terraforming. We have a couple of nice, wide, flat areas coming up, 1 block each time, like so, and this one here starts to gradiate into this hill at the back, which we're still going to be expanding outwards, kind of following the pattern of this, but making it a little bit more shallow, 1 step at a time, and then we'll probably cut away sections of the hill here, remove some of these trees. I think all of the trees on top of there will have to go when we make the windmill as well, because we wouldn't want them getting in the way of the windmill fans, the kind of operation of the windmill in the in the lore of this world that we're going to start to construct. But yeah, it's worth kind of building up little layers of dirt at a time, and this is where you'll end up using a lot of the dirt that we've already picked up from terraforming this area. As we go, we'll also want to take out some of the grass, because not only will that provide wheat seeds, but it will allow us to hoe the land and turn it into farmland, which we're going to need to plant all of this wheat. So I'm going to bring this out to about here, and I think the natural pathway that exists here already with the stone, we're probably going to leave it something like that. So we might build up like a natural wall using some smooth stone in front of that to make it lead naturally down to the mine shaft, but I don't need to worry too much about covering over little sections like this, because that's all just going to be propped up with beams and everything like that, maybe even with a bit of a dirt overhang over here. And when it comes to terraforming like this, you probably want to start from the top down, because you can push the dirt back at the top here, and that will give you a little bit of an idea of what the space is like underneath it, like so. So we can just carve away sections of the hillside here. We'll probably get rid of these trees now, actually, and that will give us a slightly more open set of terrain, so it won't look like the trees are just floating here. And yeah, we can push this back probably a good, 10 or 15 blocks in this direction. There's still plenty of this plateau available. We'll probably end up moving the little podzol area that we've been growing spruce trees on as well. So there we go. We've got a slightly more shallower gradient here. We've got a slightly shallower slope. There is still a section over here which is steeper. Like, you can't jump up that. It's kind of a 2-block thing. And I was thinking about maybe turning this into more of a stone feature. If we cut this dirt away a little bit and maybe put some stone in here so it feels a little bit more solid, so we're not actually growing stuff up the side of the hill here, but instead we'll turn it into not quite like a cave, but maybe like there can be a waterfall coming out of there, just like a little natural spring that might be feeding some of the farmland out here. Now let's talk a little bit about why we're doing this exactly, because this little wheat farm has been sustaining us as a player for quite a long time, and we've got tons of wheat left over in the cow shed. We don't even use wheat all that much except to breed animals and stuff. So why are we turning this area into a giant wheat field? Well, at this point the answer is really because we can, because at this point there aren't really that many objectives left in the survival gameplay of Minecraft, so the main emphasis right now has become to transform the world into whatever we want it to be. And what I want this world to be is a place with what feels like a story. I want to have some lore in the area. I want to have a little bit of a vibe to the place, I suppose. And we're going to start off by working on a project that feels very kind of rustic, very medieval, and the main emphasis on that kind of era of civilization would be on agriculture, because you'd have large wheat fields to supply a larger population. And ultimately, if we ended up building, say, a castle up there, like I mentioned in, one of the earlier episodes of this, then the castle would need a bunch of peasants to till the land and farm stuff and produce food for the people who lived in the castle area or maybe in a nearby town. None of this stuff exists yet, but we plan to build it. That's the idea. And so when you're building a little bit of stuff after you've beaten the dragon, or maybe even before you've beaten the dragon if you prefer to play the game that way around, I feel like it's worth considering the story of this place and what story you want your Minecraft landscape to tell. Because really, this is such a creative game. It all boils down to what you want to do with your own creativity. And what I want to do with my own creativity right now is build a giant wheat field. And part of the reason I've waited so late to do this, when a big wheat field is basically accessible to me as soon as I have wheat seeds, as soon as I've been able to farm enough wheat, I could probably make a project like this. But the reason I've waited to do this until after fighting the dragon has been for a couple of reasons. First of all, because I wanted to introduce you guys to the concepts of the game a little bit slowly. So it's taken us, 26 episodes to get here at this point, or maybe 25. I've kind of lost track a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that people knew the basics of the game, like what the objectives were, how to get to the nether, how to get to the end and stuff, before we really get stuck into these building projects, because they take me a while. I often spend a lot of time doing building when I could be doing other stuff and progressing in the game. And also because now we have the tools and equipment to do jobs like this a lot faster. Can you imagine terraforming this entire landscape only using a stone shovel? It would take absolutely ages, but now we have an enchanted diamond shovel like this. We can just tear away at the dirt in the surrounding landscape and terraform the entire place very quickly. Not only that, but having been to the end, we now have access to stuff like shulker boxes, where I can store all of this dirt that I've been collecting to clear out my inventory for other things. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do with the dirt, because we will need it for other terraforming projects. It's also taken me a little while to gather quite this many seeds, because I've been harvesting the wheat and feeding it to the cows, but we've also been getting a lot of wheat seeds. And remember, if you have a fortune tool, you can get more seeds out of wheat than you normally would. So if you plan on building a giant wheat field, that is probably the way to go. Now we need a hoe for this. We will need a lot of hoe, actually. In fact, I think I might even make a diamond hoe. And yes, people are rolling their eyes in the comments already, but frankly, I've got enough diamonds right now that I feel comfortable wasting 2 of them on a hoe. And not only that, but if we press L and go into the advancements tab, there is a husbandry tab here, which is basically all about farming, and the world is full of friends and food. And this here is an advancement that I think it would be worth getting, to completely use up a diamond hoe and then reevaluate your life choices. I think I'll probably still be pretty satisfied with having used up an entire diamond hoe on this little farmland project we've got going on here. So let me make a diamond hoe in the crafting table using sticks and the diamonds, and let's get to work. Now, when I say giant wheat field, I mean giant wheat field. We are going to be doing a lot of farming here, and the thing about that is, if you're not planning on using the farm for practical farming purposes, if it's just for aesthetics, if we just want to have a giant wheat field here without any kind of functionality to it. We're not going to be harvesting the wheat regularly. You don't need to worry about the farmland staying hydrated. You can just hoe yourself a bunch of farmland away from water as far as you want, and if it's nearby water and it's getting hydrated, then so much the better. It will grow faster and all that, but ultimately we can just end up hoeing any terrain we want, and as long as we place the seeds before the farmland dries back out again, it's not going to matter too much. It's not actually going to displace the wheat seeds and kind of pop them out of the ground and revert back to dirt if there's already something planted here. So we can actually use that to our advantage. We can actually terraform this entire area without having to worry too much about water sources. Now, for the sake of aesthetics in this area, we might actually want to place down some water sources because the field would have to be irrigated. So it would be kind of fun to place some like little trenches of water and have areas where, the water runs down from higher up in the hills. Maybe there's a natural spring somewhere nearby that is feeding the farmland. So to that end, maybe we'll carve a few channels like this into the ground, like so. Bearing in mind how far water is going to be able to travel, and we'll put like a water source underneath this block here, for example, and that's going to travel all the way down into this trench, like so, and we can use that to irrigate the farmland out here. Now, if we get it to about there, maybe drop down another block and bring it out this way, except it's going to run into that block there that I carved out by mistake. If we have it end up about here, that's about as far as this water will flow, isn't it? Yeah, good, okay. So that's naturally generated a stream in here, which is going to irrigate any of the farmland around it. It's also going to give our field a little bit of shape if we do stuff like this, because maybe there will be little bridges that we have to build over this to make sure that we can get around, so we're not hopping over here and then breaking the farmland, which breaks if you jump up and down on top of it. But now we can start hoeing the area around here, knowing that our wheat field is going to be hydrated, and if we end up harvesting some of this wheat and replanting it, then it's not going to dry out and be really difficult to farm again. And if you swap whatever's in your offhand for seeds, you will actually find that you can hoe and plant seeds very quickly if you just hold down the right mouse button. So you can do that over quite a large area, and that will allow you to plant some of this stuff a little bit quicker. We could even divert the stream this way a little bit. All we need to do is block off this area and then have that split out into the other direction. Fantastic. Okay, good. So that's still working in that direction. And it doesn't look like much right now because all the wheat is growing kind of slowly. So it's going to look like a lot of seeds in the ground for a little while. But once it all starts growing, and the hydration will help that, of course, it'll end up looking like a big golden field of wheat. Now we need to expand this in all different directions, and I'm actually not running out of seeds as quickly as I thought I would, but we're probably going to need to farm a few more from our little wheat patch over here and any of this stuff that grows. Don't forget that you could also bone meal some of this if you wanted to, but I recommend doing that if you have access to a skeleton farm and therefore an infinite supply of bone meal, because otherwise you will end up running out of it very quickly, and then you won't have it for things like growing trees and dyeing stuff. It would be better to save that bone meal for other things, because this wheat is just going to grow anyway. It's just going to take a little bit of time and patience. But I'm going to continue working on this wheat field off camera because I think you guys have got the general idea by now. We've got a couple of other things we can do to make this place look extra special, but I will cover that once we've built a little bit more of the field itself. And I'm not quite done with the wheat field yet, but I thought I would bring you in for this because my hoe is about to run out of durability, and I just want that glorious advancement sound to turn up in the video. We've got 35 spaces left, which means, alarmingly, that I've already hoed about 1,500 spaces of wheat field here. But, that's occasionally, it's been me jumping on them by mistake and reverting them back to dirt, but this whole thing is pretty large. It's given the chickens a nice place to bathe. I have been followed by chickens basically this entire video simply because I've been holding seeds in my offhand to place them down after I hoe a new space. But I think this is coming together really well. It's actually lending a lot of structure to this area in ways that I didn't even predict myself. For example, over here, look, we've got a section that's growing down here by the river. I decided to leave a little path here. This is a sort of fork in the path here where it can go up towards the mining area and towards the hill on that side, and down here it could get towards the river, and that's a space where, apparently there is a glitched out water source. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. Got myself a water bucket for it as well, and that's what people can do. People can come down here and collect water from the river if they needed it for their washing or all that kind of stuff. You know, just thinking about little details like that, thinking about how people in this area might live their life can really inform the way that you build stuff. So I recommend doing a little bit of thinking like that, trying to come up with little stories and little, even kind of little micro stories of how people live their lives around here. My hoe just broke. Advancement, please. Can I have it? I worked hard for this. Hello? Okay, apparently we're not getting that right now. That's disappointing. That was an entire diamond hoe. Minecraft, what are you doing to me? Why did I not get that? That seems irregular. I bet you it's going to surprise me as soon as I hit recording as well. As soon as I stop recording, it's just going to be like, ta-da, you did it. And no. Why? I was seriously dedicated. That's cruel. That's cruel and unusual, Minecraft. I don't like it. In fact, I'm starting to worry that a couple of the other advancements might be bugged out as well, because if we go to the end section of the advancements here, you'll notice the city at the end of the game, which is an advancement you get for entering an end city for the first time, I don't appear to have, but I did get Sky's the Limit, which is the one for finding Elytra. So I am confused. Apparently, Minecraft thinks I haven't satisfied the conditions of some of these advancements, even though I have. And that's really weird, and I guess I'll have to look into it. But in the meantime, I've done enough of this wheat field that I can start to show you some of the details I'm adding to it. For example, the use of grass path blocks around the edges of the wheat field, I think really help them transition between the wheat field and the rest of the grass, because the grass path blocks have a similar texture to grass, but they are nice and brown. They kind of blend in with the wheat field quite nicely. They also have that slight difference in height. That 1 pixel's worth of height difference between grass and farmland is kind of bridged by the grass path blocks. So I think they're actually really good to mark out the outside of areas like this. And all you need is a shovel, and just the right-click action on a shovel when you're looking at grass will turn it into grass path. Note that that doesn't happen on dirt, though, so you have to wait for any dirt in the nearby area to revert back to grass in order to do this. But then you can change it up a little bit as well. We can make some cobblestone slabs and stairs, maybe a few cobblestone walls, even stuff like that, and we can actually surround this field with them to... Yeah, I'll give you a quick example here. To make the field look like it's got a low wall around the outside is the idea. Let's make a few more walls and some more slabs out of that. Maybe even bring some regular cobblestone blocks with us too. So a kind of crumbled and broken down cobblestone wall seems like a good idea to have around a field like this. And if you kind of alternate the blocks a little bit, try and give it a little bit of randomness here and there if you can, but having stuff like this will really help set the field apart. And you don't need to do that the entire way around, especially with a medieval style field like this where it's meant to be a little bit more open, and you know, you're not having to worry too much about animals coming in and trampling them because they're all in the barn. You don't have to worry about, you know, the fiction of the world having like vehicles and stuff that would cause problems here. No, you just need to put in the occasional block here and there, especially in gaps where I've left some of the grass path out of it. Like I've not converted any of these blocks here to grass path, just because I was thinking about maybe putting in bits and pieces of cobblestone wall like this. Just marks out the boundary of an area really nicely and gives it the impression that this is really intentional. It's not a natural wheat field that has grown this way all by itself. You know, there are people tending to this. And as you're doing that, you can start to learn how the different blocks in the game interact. For example, the fact that cobblestone walls won't connect to slabs or the front side of a stair block, but they will connect to the back side of a stair block because that's a solid face of that block. So you can start to create different effects using stuff like that. We can also start to shape the path through the wheat fields using these cobblestone stairs and slabs as well. I think having slabs to go up this little section here will work great. We can even put one there and maybe an extra cobblestone block behind it just so it can shape the path sort of in this direction. I think that's looking pretty good. The next thing I want to do is turn some of this wheat directly into hay bales, and we can put hay bales at various points throughout the field to make it look as though stacks of hay have been gathered up in specific locations here, and it's all been bundled up from the previous harvest season. So let's find a nice open spot like this. I'm actually going to use my fortune pickaxe to get a few more seeds out of this wheat because I need more seeds to do the upper slopes over there. And let's put in a few hay bales. We don't need to be too judicious with these because I've got quite a lot of them at this point. We've been able to gather a lot of wheat from this field, and it's all hydrated because of the water streams we put in here, so it's actually growing a lot faster than I would have expected. So we can do that. We can maybe put in like a cobblestone slab here and there, just to kind of prop this up, as it were. Stand back and take a look at that. Yeah, that fits in really well. I like that a lot. If you have any mossy cobblestone collected from dungeons, or you can actually craft this using cobblestone and vines, which we'll be able to get from the nearby swamp, those make for really great kind of transitional blocks between grass and cobblestone if you want to make your path look a little bit more organized. If you want to put cobblestone in it here and there, just to kind of guide you through the wheat field here, like it's a really good idea to put a little bit of cobblestone and mossy cobblestone together like so. They're always going to blend together nicely because they use basically the same texture, just with a little bit more green in the lines there. And we can always drop in a couple of cobblestone slabs on the top half to make them look like full blocks. Maybe cut a couple of grass path blocks either side of that to make the path look well trodden. And this tree here is actually serving as a really great kind of focal point for this section here. It's like a roundabout almost. You'll be able to walk around that on your way to different stuff. If you want to create a more rural look for your wheat field boundary as well, consider using leaves, because leaves will look like hedges or bushes, and they'll actually be a really great addition to the exterior of this. Plus, if you pile up a decent amount of leaves, you can also hide torches underneath them, and that's the start of concealing lighting. Oh, there's a coal block down there. Might want to claim that, actually. Let's get the Fortune 3 pickaxe on that one. Oh, there's even more down there. Good. Let's grab a little bit of this while we can, so we can craft a few more torches and have some furnace fuel. So as I was saying, you can pop a torch down there underneath the leaves, and it's relatively concealed. As you walk past, you might notice it, but it's not going to be so big a deal. And concealing it under the leaves at the side of this wheat field will help make the place look a little bit better lit up. And if you want to give your wheat field even more structure, consider building something like this. This is a retaining wall. It's normally used in real life, actually, to stop dirt and soil and so forth from creeping down into a certain area, to stop like rainwater washing the soil further down. And you can build these in Minecraft very easily, just with a few well-placed cobblestone blocks against the side of a steeper slope like this. It will really make it look like that's holding back the dirt from sweeping down into this area, and it can help your wheat field look a lot more structured. And if you want to, you can add a few wood elements around here, such as fences, that kind of thing. These would be really good to place torches on top of, actually. But I think this place is looking really great now, and I really want to find out why that advancement didn't trigger when I used up the rest of that diamond hoe. I'll have to figure that out off camera, though, and I think we're going to call it here for today. We'll probably work on the windmill for the top of that hill in the next episode, and I might do a little bit more work on the wheat field off camera just to get it looking the way I want it. But I hope this has given you some inspiration for your own worlds, especially if you're building a rustic medieval kind of style settlement. A big wheat field is usually pretty nice and is fairly easy to put together. It really doesn't take a huge amount of thought. You just need to place a bunch of seeds, hoe a lot of ground, and see how you get on. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on the episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.